Hello, beautiful woman. Just a quick video about time.
Time. I don't have enough time.
I have found myself so often convincing myself that I don't have enough time for really important things. And also that one time in the future, that there'll be a time in the future when I will have enough time for that. Now's not the perfect time. It's not like the right time, and there will be a right time in the future. And I discovered that there never actually is a right time in the future. And a lot of all those stories about not having enough time, no matter what your life looks like, no matter what your schedule looks like, no matter how many things you have going on, is actually not as true as you think. And a lot of it is the inner game. It's all the stuff that's going on inside you.
Absolutely. That inner game. If you work on the inner game, and by inner game we mean the stuff that you tell yourself, the way that you language your life around time. I don't have enough time. There's not enough time. I never have enough time.
Now's not the time.
I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And then the procrastination is a big one. And I think we should talk about procrastination today because it's a huge one. But procrastination, it suggests I'll have more time later. I won't do it now. I'm not ready now. Later. And the ramifications of that. There's so many different pieces internally that really are the needle movers in creating a more spacious feeling around time, even without changing or reprioritizing your outer world.
What we're suggesting, and not actually just suggesting, it's true in our lives, it's definitely true in your life as well, is that the lack of time, the sense of constrictedness around time and of like, there's not enough time to get all the stuff done that's important to me, is actually more created from your stories and your beliefs and your resistance and your lack of willingness to actually work with all that stuff than it is created by the external circumstances around you. Like, you'll actually create exponentially more time for yourself by working on that inner stuff than by trying to control all the outer stuff.
And we get that your outer stuff, there's a lot of it. And we totally understand that too. Kara and I run businesses, we manage households, we homeschool our children, we run
lots of
enrichment programs in the community. Like, we do a lot of stuff. So we do actually understand. Like, we get it. The to-do list outside in the outer world can look insane, but your inner game is what's sending you into overwhelm, chronic busyness, stress, like craziness. And I think let's focus on the procrastination one today because it's a really concrete one that we can give you. And Kaya and I have both had to work with procrastination and still struggle with it from time to time. Yeah. Procrastination is part of the myth that says I don't have enough time. It's saying I will have more time later. Now is not the right time, but I will have more time later, which is actually complete BS. It looks like now, because you're looking at today's schedule going, I don't have time today, and maybe in 2 weeks you haven't put anything in your calendar yet, but you will not have more time in 2 weeks. This is a myth to say that that's the case. So
and it especially comes up, that procrastination, when it's something that
you're in resistance
to, which especially comes up when it's something that's really important to you or really meaningful to you.
Or that you're scared about, or that you don't want, even though you know you've got to do it, you might not want to do it, even if that's a phone call, right? These can be such little things. There is what is creating that procrastination for you is resistance and fear, and that is the piece that is creating the overwhelm and the chronic busyness. Because what happens, Kaya can talk more about fear and resistance in a second, but what happens for you is you put it off, and you put it off. It feels heavy, or it feels murky, or not perfect time right now. I probably need bigger space to handle that. I'll leave it. And you get to, now it's a crucial emergency and I have to do it. I'm out of time and it's got to happen. And we use that emergency, shit, it's going to happen today thing the fight or flight response in our body that generates to push through our resistance is like a mechanism we use to force ourselves past our resistance, okay? And it kind of is effective. Lots of us run our lives that way, right? But what that does...
kind of effective.
It's kind of effective. I mean, we get shit done that way. But the consequences to our mindset and our physical bodies is huge. It puts us into fight or flight, okay? So it throws up huge amounts of adrenaline and cortisol. It puts us into racing mindset. I'm in a hurry. I don't have time. Oh, my God, this has to happen today. And crisis, this tiger's going to eat me. There's a lot of that throws you in. And then you're going to burn out. That is when you're going to go into burnout. If you live in everything is an emergency land. And you get to that space because you're procrastinating. Why are you procrastinating? Because this is the key piece. And if you get to this key piece and you can create the shift there in that one little spot, it will make a massive difference to how spacious you feel, even if you're not reprioritizing your outer life.
And because it will also help you feel spacious, not only because it helps you avoid that burnout and that fight-flight thing, but it also helps you get out of this kind of hamster wheel of stuckness of like, oh, I'm in the same place again and again and again, because you're still dealing with it all in the same way you have been, and you're not actually willing to look at what's going on, which actually makes you change it, which gives you the energy shifts.
And even if you play with this a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, and one or two of those little things like a phone call or an email or a tiny piece, right? If you start not putting that off and just do it, it's really small, the spaciousness will be almost immediate. You'll be like, oh, I've got my room. There's not so much on my to-do list. You will notice it straight away. Okay?
And something else that I find for me, because I do have this procrastination come up with things that are really important to me quite often, is that when I'm being unconscious about it and I'm falling into these habits that we're talking about, I will convince myself that I don't have the time for this right now because this is kind of big and I'm a bit nervous or I'm a bit scared, or it's a stretch for me.
It feels murky. It feels too hard. I don't know where to start.
I feel like I'm not ready. I've got to do more work on it or whatever. So then what I'll do when I'm disconnected in that way is I'll waste that time, as in I will do mind-numbing things like go on social media or just kind of eat food, all those things that distract you from what's actually going on.
I get really tired. And so I have to have a nap. Oh my God, I'm suddenly so tired. I can't cope. I just have to do something restful.
And ironically, this came about from the idea that there's no way I have enough time. Like my time is too full. My time's too, there's way too much going on. So then we fill it up with even more stuff that actually is distracting and drains us and doesn't serve us. So it's actually showing us that it's not actually as true as we think it is.
If you had spent 5 or 10 minutes not even doing the task, take a step back, look at just sitting with your resistance. This is important to me. What's going on? Why am I free? Why am I putting it off? Even if you just work on the inner game, that would move mountains for you.
Yes.
Hugely, that would move mountains. Seriously, there is the alchemizing our relationship to time, which is super important in today's society and super important for mothers who are trying to raise their children, manage households, have a career or a business, like all these roles. We want a different relationship with time. We all want it, right? So you want to alchemize your relationship to time, and the hugest piece of that is inner. The alchemy work happens on the inner game. Okay, and it flows outwards and you see stuff shift all around you in the outer world, and you do start to change your priorities and your to-do lists and stuff. But that's not where that's not the needle mover. That's not where the mountains shift. The alchemy happens on the inner game inside you.
Yes. Hello, Dominique.
Okay, so we wanted to keep this short today, so it's probably a really good stopping point. And we don't even really have a coaching question for you today. We do have an invitation to start looking at the small, tiny things. I was procrastinating on a phone call for the last week, right?
Yeah.
Phone call, people. It's like so tiny. And now and I did it, right, thinking, I don't have time, I've got to shoot a video. But I did it, and it's done, and it's out of the way. And now already my day is starting to open up more and more. So play with that. What is a tiny, tiny thing that you have been procrastinating on that if you just bloody did it, would actually, it's not, I don't have enough time. It took 60 seconds. It's your resistance to it.
And if the thing that is coming up for you that you have resistance to does feel scary, does feel big, then prioritize the time to look at the resistance and to actually make sacred, make valuable, because it is so valuable, it's so important, the work of the inner work, the work of working with your resistance. Actually, because it's not possible for us to just steamroll through things without actually being real with what's there. It's just as important work.
Yeah. If you choose to handle your resistance to things by waiting until they get to emergency status, you will get into overwhelm, burnout, chronic, crazy over-busy-ness. And that's just trying to slam through the resistance. Work with the resistance in a way that actually is meaningful and gentle and loving. It doesn't have to be a crap fest. It really doesn't. And that is the key piece to turn everything free.
It's liberating.
It's very powerful. Okay, thank you so much for being with us. If you want to hear us talk more about alchemizing our relationship with time, the inner game, the pieces that really need to change if you want to feel like a spacious woman without dumping everything that you're trying to do, come join us in our Facebook group. It's a free group. It is a closed group.
And we are about to do a
free training in there. It will be free on the timeline in there if you're a member. We're going to do that next week sometime. Come and be in our group and get all the epic extra stuff that we don't do out on our open timeline. And we will see you in there.
The link's in the description. Bye-bye.